With Night of Champions coming up this Saturday morning, a lot of wrestling fans were expecting WWE and their creative team to come up with a solution for the problem that they created during the draft. Because after all was said and done, the draft left the Women's World Championships of each brand on the brand it's not supposed to be, to most wrestling fans, of course. Currently, the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, well, she got drafted over to Smackdown. But she's facing Asuka at Night of Champions, also a Smackdown superstar, meaning that the title stays on Smackdown. And the current Smackdown Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley, well, she got drafted to Monday Night Raw along with the rest of the Judgment Day, and she faces off against the fellow Raw superstar in Natalya at Night of Champions as well, meaning that title, the SmackDown Women's Championship, is going to stick around on Monday nights. Now, it's no secret that once the draft ended, a lot of fans were expecting, myself included, yet another championship swap, just like they did about a year and a half ago, maybe. My timing might be off a little bit, when Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair got drafted to separate brands that weren't pertaining to their titles, and they ended up doing that awkward segment on SmackDown right after the draft itself. Now, frankly, if you ask me, a championship swap, I'm not a fan of those, especially after that awkward, bad segment that transpired on that Friday night, because that was not good TV, that was not good entertainment, and frankly, when it comes to professional wrestling, the titles are just objects. They're just tools to further enhance the storytelling aspect of the business, of the show, of the entertainment aspect of it. So that didn't help. So what does WWE do now? Because it doesn't seem like they're going to do a championship swap anytime soon. And if you ask me, I don't think that they should go towards a unification title match at SummerSlam, even though I would love to have current champions Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley go at it one-on-one in Detroit. I would love that. But we've all seen the issues created by having just one world champion in Roman Reigns. They've had to create a brand new World Heavyweight Championship. So I don't want that to happen for the women's divisions as well. So what should they do? What should they do? And my simple answer right now is nothing. Don't do anything. If you weren't going to do a championship swap a week and a half after the draft, after we all knew that those titles, the Raw title was going to be on SmackDown and the SmackDown title was going to be on Raw, then at this point in the game, it's just too late to do a championship swap. Not to mention, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, they have a little bit of animosity amongst each other. Not that Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair didn't in the past, but I just feel like it just doesn't make sense to swap the titles. So with that said, just let this play out. I mean, it bothers me when I see Ring of Honor or AAA or New Japan Pro Wrestling titles defended on AEW programming and AEW TV on a regular, consistent basis. That should not be the case, but it continues to happen. And again, my simple motto with these kinds of things is focus on what you can control. Focus on that. Don't waste too much energy on what you can't control, because it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It just messes with your day, and eventually, at the end of it all, it's just entertainment. It's just a show for us to watch. That's it. And then Money in the Bank, the pay-per-view, is coming up in England, in London. What's to say? Wins the women's Money in the Bank ladder match and cashes in and brings that title back over to their brand, and somehow, some way down the line, we get a storyline reason, a perfectly storyline reason for these titles to be swapped back to their respective brands after all. And with WWE, with sports entertainment, with pro wrestling, that's exactly how things should play out. It should be storytelling issues. It should be storytelling tools to get these titles back on their brands, not a championship swap that seems cheap. And again, it normally, well, in the past, it hasn't really worked. So for the time being, I'm okay with the titles being on separate brands. Because like I said, it's not up to me for them to just switch titles back and forth. So I just focus on if the actual show, if the actual segment, if the actual matches that they're involved in are entertaining or not, and that's that. So with that said, what do you think? What do you think WWE should do when it comes to the Women's Championship titles not being on their respective brands? Should they do a championship swap? Should they focus on a unification match coming up at SummerSlam in Detroit? Should they figure out some other way to get the Raw Women's Championship back on Raw and the SmackDown Women's Championship back on SmackDown? Leave it in the comments section below. In the meantime, I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.